Lovely. So as we go through the conversation with you today, Sam, yeah, we're just going to delve a little bit deeper into, how did you arrive at where you are? What are some of some of the challenges that you've had to overcome in your journey in order to be where you are now? And just exploring a little bit, like if you could send a message to people on similar journeys, women in similar journeys, what are some of the things that you would advise? I want to explore with you some of the things that, what are some of the defining moments? What are some of the qualities and the attributes that you've had to cultivate, that you've had to bring to the table as you've had to have various breakthroughs in an industry where, diversity, women in business, women coming into leadership, women expressing their power has been a journey across decades and lifetimes for many of us. So really excited to hear your perspective, to hear your wisdom as we journey through the next while. I know that when we were initially sort of just touch base and we were preparing for the conversation, you've got a few pieces of paper behind you, and I was really intrigued as you were sharing with me around fluid intellect and how that came into inception and how it came into being, and I was just completely inspired at the time with that story. So maybe just share with us a little bit more around fluid intellect. How did it come into inception? You're the brainchild behind it, so yeah, and tell us more about the papers behind you.
Sure, thanks, Sean. So, as I said, the journey started many years ago, and I started out as a software developer in IT, and then moved into architecture and information security. And I've navigated a lot of different domains in information technology. Yeah, um, and I've tried to be, and I think I've been fortunate to have found myself on a growth path, not just a static career path that said you start as a software developer, you end as a software developer. But I think as I navigated my career, I came across different titles and different job roles. And whenever it piqued my interest, I tried pursuing some of those avenues. And that is how I eventually made my way out of development into architecture, and then, started in my interest in information security peaked even more. And at this point in time, it's data, big data, data management that I'm completely immersed in. Um, but somewhere along the line, I started feeling like there was just something a little bit bigger speaking to me. I took two steps back and looked at my career and asked, what is it that I actually want to do with my future and with my career? Where's all of this, leading to? And as much as there were, certain titles and certain roles that could have been pursued to see something achieve this or achieve that, the more I looked at it, the less I was feeling it, even though at a point in time I thought I need to pursue a chief something role. Uh, and there was this voice inside of me that just kept speaking to me. And I think it was around 2019. I came home from work and I was at a point in my career where I just was not sure anymore, where's this going? I still love what I do. I'm still passionate about technology. I'm never going to stop learning. I'm never going to leave this industry. I'm not even going to be bullied out of it. It's exactly where is all of this going? And one day I just came home, walked through the door, put my bags down. I pulled out my chart paper and I stuck it up on my wall with press stick. And I just started drawing. I was like, what is the value I'd like to give back to the world with all of this knowledge and experience that I've accumulated? And that's the messy piece of paper that you see behind me. And it might not be clear, you might not be um, legible right now because it's had a couple of accidents as the years have gone by. It's been falling down, I've been rolling over it with my chair. But I kind of drew out this vision of an entity. And if you have to, take a closer look, not sure if you could zone in, it's actually torn and it's the writing's withered away. it just has X. It's a box that says X, and then it has these arrows breaking out of it that speaks about the different areas of that I would like to dabble in. And I drew it out on my wall in 2019, and since then I kept it up here. And like I said, it's been falling down and it's been folded up. And then I was like, where's my paper? And bringing it back up and sticking it back on my wall. Um, and then eventually around 2020, I decided to register a company called Fluid Intellect. And I decided this is what I'm going to do with my career going forward. I'm going to try and, kind of craft my own path going forward. And I listened to the voice inside me and exactly what is it that I want to do and how I want this company to be structured and molded and based on what values, and I said, okay, let's get Fluid Intellect registered, and we started working on the branding, and I put a lot of thinking into it, and there's every single aspect of from the colors to the font to the icons that spoke to so much of what I want this to be in the world. It needs to be colorful. It needs to be a place where you're creative, but you also find some happiness, etc. And that was how it came about. And what we do at Fluid Intellect was largely centered around the work that I did at the time, which was consulting in the architecture space. But my passion has always been software development. So eventually we built up a team that's focusing on software development. And information security is also a big passion of mine. And as the years, have passed, each year, we've started a new structure. Well, the first one was just the consulting, second was the software development team. And at some point in time, I felt like what I'd also like to do is pass this value that we've accumulated in our careers onto others through training and education. And that's how we then registered the Fluid Intellect Cyber Academy, which is focused on teaching the stuff you don't find in books. So, like with
Lovely.
data management, like with some of the cybersecurity disciplines, there are just certain things you're not going to get in the books, even if you buy the textbooks. You don't always have
Mm.
to pay a consultant. And the motivation behind that was we're becoming digital. Everybody has to evolve. We're not living in that world of niche consultants anymore. There are people who come from a call center, an administrative background, who still need employment, but with digital products and digital organizations, things are going to work slightly differently, and those people could, be upskilled and start learning about data, learning about data management. They work with it on a daily basis. So that's how the academy came about. And I
Beautiful.
wasn't really focused on the picture until one day I stood back and I looked at it without even realizing at this point in time where we are now, 3 years later, we've actually built out most of, the call it the elements of that diagram. And yeah, it's I just looked at it one of the days and just smiled to think that
Mm.
it started off just as a random drawing in 2019 with what do I want to do with my life going forward, and now all the foundations have been set. The picture is starting to come to life, and it's quite exciting.
Yeah, beautiful. So inspiring. So lovely to hear. Sam, thanks for sharing that. I think there were just a few points that sort of stood out for me, and I want to kind of come back to them in various parts of the conversation. So the one of the aspects that you were speaking around is like you just felt there was something bigger for you in the context of who you were and who and what it is that you could bring into fruition, into the world and for other people to benefit. So you also spoke around sort of, the element of sort of feeling bullied, and I want to just pick up on that in terms of what are some of the challenges you've faced in the corporate world as you've journeyed, as you felt this bigness potentially, and what have you experienced around expressing that? How's that showing up in terms of challenges? And then I really love the idea of, you wanting to bring into fruition things that aren't being shown in textbooks. And so you mentioned a few things, I guess. I just want to drill down into a couple of those. So let me start then maybe just with and I'll, we'll weave all of that in. Hopefully I can remember it all, but we'll weave all of that in.